You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
This is Solange Ellis, founder of Stable Riding, for the August 25th, 2026 episode. This is episode 13 of Stable Riding with Solange, part of Horses in the Morning. I am here the fourth Tuesday of every month to talk to you all about the rider and how we can make ourselves better in the saddle. We did it, everyone. 1 year of Stable Riding with Solange. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on the show in the past few weeks as I was writing this episode. And honestly, I never thought I'd ever become a podcast host. I also, if I was being super honest, never thought I'd be a horse trainer turned national level riding coach either. When I was young, I wanted to be the snake lady at the circus. Then I wanted to be an Egyptologist. Then my dream was to be a college professor of linguistic anthropology. And I think in the end, I ended up not that far away from snake lady at the circus when I think about my job now sometimes. My relationship with podcasts before this show was pretty simple. I, like many people, listened to them in the car and while doing chores. I listened mainly to science and entrepreneur podcasts, which were not that fun, truth be told, but they were good for me, and I could use the education. At the age of 15, when it became apparent that I needed some income, I dropped out of school and started breaking horses to ride for cash. It seemed like a good enough gig, and college was not in the cards, so I stuck with it. And there is a very addictive side to breaking feral horses for a living. You get really into it. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I saw the the same ER doctor, many, many times. And this was all before cell phones. I didn't even own a computer at the time. Interestingly enough, my husband told me about Horses in the Morning for the very first time. He was a listener years ago. And before you ask, no, he does not listen to mine. Typical married people, right? My first time on the show was when I won Best Booth Award at Equine Affair. And then the next year at another equine affair, all of the Equisizers in my booth caught Glenn's eye, and we got to talking about the Equisizer and Frankie. In fact, Frankie was coming down that very weekend to Equine Affair to be a guest star in my booth. So via Frankie, whose coattails I'm firmly attached to, I snagged an after-hours interview with Frankie and Glenn at that same Equine Affair. And I don't remember which day of the event because it's always a blur, but one of those days, Ashley came by my booth and sat in one of my chairs and watched me give a stability check. She must have seen something in me I didn't know I had, and a few weeks later, she asked if I'd be interested in a show and what the general idea would be. And instantly, like Pony Jesus himself, beamed it into my brain. I knew exactly what this show would be. An all-riders podcast, where I would interview a different type of rider each month, and I rattled off 8 or 10 without even thinking about it. They love the idea, and that, kids, is how Stable Riding with Solange came to be. I'm really very proud of this show. I'm proud of the riders who share their stories, proud of the riders who've progressed in their own riding with my stable riding system that they heard about me here on the pod. And I'm proud of myself for basically learning to type at the age of 40. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I'm excited for the upcoming month's topics and riders. I feel like I'm starting to really get the hang of it, and it's only on to bigger and better things here on my little fourth Tuesday of every and each month. Okay, today's show is going to be a little different. I do have a guest, but she will be interviewing me. I have my most delightful, smart, and funny friend Ngozi here on the show. If you know me outside of my job, you'll know that I always say that my kid has 2 mommies, and Ngozi is my kid's other mother. We met, I think it's got to be about 10 years ago now, and I just love this kid. So when I needed to rope someone into my nonsense for today, I knew she was the woman for the job. All of today's questions were submitted by you guys, the listeners. So thank you for giving me some really great ones. Okay, I think we are ready to jump in. Ngozi! Hey kid, thank you for doing this for me.
Hey, boss. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be part of this milestone for you and so
Aw,
proud of this year that you've spent running such an amazing podcast.
you're already going to make me cry. You just started. We met because you were friends with my friend. I've moved through the friend circle, right? You were friends with my friend Sam, and I met you because you started teaching my kid cello lessons. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it feels like so long ago. I was still in college and Sam and I were procrastinating our physics homework. And she asked me if I still played and told me she had a friend whose daughter wanted to learn. And I had been trying to get an invitation to the barn for years at this point.
I didn't know any of this. She did not
She
tell
was
me this.
gatekeeping you from me. I was so excited to become part of this barn family because I knew nothing about horses or riding or farm life, being outside.
Goats, dirt.
So many goats, so much dirt. And it was so fascinating because you were the last member of your family that I met. I met Piper, I met your husband, I met all of the barn rats.
You were just kept coming when I wasn't there. It was so weird. It was like a sitcom. We kept missing each other.
Yeah, I was like, who is this mythical Solange person that everyone is talking about? Like she's God or something. Like, what's happening? And over many, many coffees and eventually Piper trying to teach me how to ride.
Yes.
We've made it all the way here, 10 years in.
I was going to say, I think it's been 10 years because Piper was 4. That cello was so tiny, I could hold it and play it like a violin. That's how little she was.
Yes, and now she's a foot taller than me.
I was going to say, way taller than you, man. All right, Ngozi, I'm ready. We have lots of questions, so let's get this party started.
Yes. We're starting off light and easy. We have a question from Stephanie who would like to know, what is Pancake Pony's favorite thing to do? If you follow Stable Riding on any of the platforms, you'll see Pancake Pony a lot. She's the social media manager.
She is our social media manager. I am embarrassed to tell you how much time I spent shopping for and making her social media manager hat. That was an odyssey, me and the hat. So Pancake has a really complex equation for all of her interactions. It's a custom built treat to work algorithm, and I don't really have the math to fully explain it. But if she can not break a sweat, get tons of treats, and make a kid cry, then she's pretty happy. That's really what Pancake's looking for every day.
As the kid who Pancake used to make cry, I have loved seeing this second act of her career. Okay. Shannon has sent in a 3-part question for us. So first, did George Washington ride in a chair seat?
Girl, he sure did. At least if you can take the portraits for being at least somewhat to mostly accurate. I took my kid to DC this past summer, and we were in the big fancy art museum there by all the Smithsonians. And they had a huge, massive painting of him, like in a stairway on a horse. And I stopped on the stairs and took this picture because he was sitting exactly in the deep seat position I teach. Now, I will say his stirrups were a little long for my taste, but it is George Washington. So I don't know if I would have said that to him. But yeah, I think that he sat down and back. I don't think he wanted his wig to fall off.
Second, Shannon asks, what's the biggest difference in one's approach to riding between us Americans versus Irish and other European riders that you've noticed?
Oh man, this is a good one. So I went hunting in Ireland just before COVID, which feels like 2 years ago, but now I know it's like way more. It's the way time has bent around the whole event. And I remember talking to the gentleman that we had rented our horses from for the couple hunts we did. And the day before we went fox hunting, he took us on a little like shakeout ride over some cross country fences, I'm sure to assess if we'd survive or not. And at the end, he expressed surprise at my ability to ride. And I said, let me guess. You get lots of Americans who travel here and they all ride with their stirrups too short, lean way too far forward, can't sit deep up to the fence, and refuse to lean back over it. And he was like, yeah, how do you know? And I was like, dude, I live there. I train those riders. Trust me, I know what it's like. So basically, here in the US, we have let appearance-based show riding become the norm. And now, since we really are living through an era of dressage supremacy, all that languaging and instruction makes it hard to sit in a way that will keep you from falling off. Basically, here we tend to ride to look good, and there they tend to ride to do good. I'm making that's how they ride face. For those of you who can't see me.
I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, and I just want to let that line settle, that we ride to look good and they ride to do good.
I was proud of that line. Wasn't that a good line? Yeah, I was proud of that.
Your mind, boss. Shannon also wants to know your favorite horse movie and the movie with the best stable riding.
Okay, I'm holding my hands up because I have to shut out this movie because it's a not well-known horse movie and it's my absolute favorite horse movie. My favorite horse movie is The 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas, where he takes his Arabian horse north to fight with the Vikings. The best scene in the whole movie is he's on his little Arabian and all these giant Norsemen are on these big draft horses. And the one mean Viking guy looks down at him and in his like Norse accent, he says, "Only an Arab would bring a dog to war." And Antonio Banderas gives him like this look and he turns and he wheels his horse and he jumps over the dude on his draft horse with his little Arabian horse. It is so cool. So if you haven't seen it, that's my favorite movie. Arabians are my favorite breed of horse. I'm very into it. The best stable riding that I've ever seen was not in a movie, but it was in relation to a movie. The most recent Planet of the Apes movie had a promo where the apes rode down the beach in California, and there were all these little media snippets of like 3 apes from Planet of the Apes riding horses down the beach. And I will find this clip because I know I have it and I will post it on my socials for anyone who wants to see. But those actors were sitting so deep and their lower leg position was so correct. They were like, I am not falling off in these monkey suits. And every time I see it, it cracks me up because like there's 3 horses and the first 2 are acting really well behaved and those guys are sitting kind of relaxed. But the third horse in the back really looks like he's about to get up to some nonsense. And that dude is like sitting. So I'll find it and I'll post it on my socials so you guys can watch this monkey ride his horse because he did an amazing job.
Shout out to that actor, whoever that was.
Can you imagine? They had like the feet and everything. It's got to feel so weird.
No worse thing to be wearing to fall off your horse, that's for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Right. Valerie also asked a multi-part question about our writer intensives. How do you schedule an intensive? Does it have to be a certain number of days? What if there's only one thing that the writer wants to work on in their intensive specifically, but maybe their writing isn't there or their fitness has gone down due to life events?
Okay, I have to hard pivot from talking about the Planet of the Apes guy to being a professional. Hard pivot. Thank you, Valerie, for asking this question. This answer is actually very easy. You schedule an intensive by emailing me, solange@stableriding.us, or messaging me on any of my social platforms. My next step when a rider reaches out to me about an intensive is to always book a call. And then we talk more about your riding and your goals, and I describe what an intensive would look like for you. I have full day intensives, which are 6 hours long, and half days, which are 3 hours long. I do all lengths. 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day intensives are by far the most popular that people book, but I've done 4 and 5 days as well. And I even have a rider who has come up with her horse and she did a whole month with me, which was really fun. So it's all based on what the rider needs and wants. All my intensives do have a goal, something we're working towards globally. But having said that, I do meet riders where they are. I tell them, don't feel any pressure to be ready. I have riders of all ages, fitness levels, and riding experience levels who come for intensives. Since each intensive is custom and one-on-one, we make it whatever we need it to be. I will say, though, that if you're looking to prepare for an intensive with me in terms of like physical fitness, I always recommend Aoife from Aoife Fit. His Equestrian Fitness Academy is an excellent resource for riders, and he was my January podcast guest. So you can go give that episode a listen to learn more about him and his program.
Another real world riding question from Christy. She says, I get nervous going down steep hills on trail rides. Can you explain how to sit best to support the horse? My horse is very careful going down hills. He doesn't rush.
Hey, Christy. This is a really common thing riders say to me, like all the time. So I'm very glad you brought it up. The answer is you got to lean back much farther, I would wager, than you think. I tell my riders, I'm going to ask you to lean back farther than you've ever leaned back in your life. Like Monty Python, Ministry of Funny Walks, you got to lean back. You will almost feel like you're reclining in the dentist chair. For your lower body, you need to place your lower legs and feet not only in front of you, but also wide open from left to right, like a piece of pizza. Shout out to Alex for naming the position the piece of pizza. When you put your lower leg bones on or in front of the vertical line to the ground and then widen them out, you're accessing your stirrups for both frontal and lateral support. And this will help you not only be, but also feel way more stable in the saddle. Conveniently enough, that lower body position will open your hip angle, allowing your pelvis to swing freely. When a horse walks down an incline, they have a more pronounced hind to end motion, and you're going to want to fully move with them to make the job of carrying you easier. On the rein front, I recommend a looser rein to allow the horse to travel forward with impulsion. Also, lengthening your reins will allow you to bring your hands closer to you and therefore lean back the amount needed. If you need extra leaning back encouragement, you can put both reins in one hand, reach back with the other hand, and hold on to the back of your saddle. That's an old hunt field trick, and it always works like a charm.
Right. Evergreen asks, I'd love to have you go over some of the exercises that can be done on the Equisizer.
Oh man, Evergreen, I have about 1 million. So the best part of the Equisizer as a tool is that not only does it emulate a horse's canter motion, it also allows for a saddle to be strapped onto it, and therefore you can use your stirrups. I think the best exercise to start, and the one that applies to the widest variety of riders, is to sit on it and with your feet out of your stirrups, move your hips behind you to then in front of you to create that canter motion. Even if you're not cantering often, that full range of motion has the most benefits for your pelvis and is applicable to both sitting walk and sitting trot. Next up, I do love how you have full access to your stirrups on the Equisizer and can practice both standing and posting on it. I have here, in past episodes, giving posting walk and standing walk as rider tips and homework. So in the interest of time, I will not repeat those instructions fully, but refer you back to those episodes to give a listen, and you'll get all the instructions that I have for those positions on the pod that you can then apply onto your Equisizer. You can practice taking your feet in and out of your stirrups on the Equisizer, another vital but overlooked riding skill and a previous rider tip and homework here on the pod. I've had riders practice kicking and applying leg aids, as well as correctly pulling with their back instead of their arms on their Equisizer. I also spend a huge amount of time working with riders on a stable mounting and dismounting position. Whenever I teach a rider my mounting system, we always start on an Equisizer. So those are my top level exercises that I find to be really beneficial for a wide range of riders with that tool.
Right. Definitely our next question is someone who might benefit from some of those Equisizer exercises.
Yeah.
Charity asks, my horse has a trot like a jackhammer.
Oof.
I would like to be able to do a sitting trot on him occasionally, but even his trainer says he has one of the hardest sitting trots. Please help.
Okay, Charity, now we're asking the big questions. I'm going to try and say this as simply as possible, but as always, feel free to email me if you feel like you need more info. So, sitting trot is the most difficult motion for riders to learn. It's not a one lesson. It's a journey, like taking the ring back to Mordor. Some horses are just bouncy. Their individual skeletal conformation gives them a more disruptive trot. So you can learn and train to be able to correctly and competently sit their trot, but it might not ever be comfy. You know what I mean? And I tell riders with bouncy horses, you bought a horse that rides like a drunken paint mixer, and we love him and he's a great guy. He's just got a bouncy trot. In most real world riding situations, the longest that you're really ever going to need to sit your trot is maybe 12 strides. So it's really not that bad. It tends to be inside of an upward transition or a downward transition, or if the ground's a little uneven, or if you're like trotting past something spooky. So don't feel like you have to be able to do it for 5 minutes at a time, because if you're just out riding in the world freely, you won't really have to do it for that long. So that's the one thing that you can kind of feel better about. To sit a trot, your hips have to go in front of you. And that is how you follow the motion of the horse's hind leg as they take a step forward and underneath themselves. The human pelvis cannot travel forward unless you bring your rib cage back. The bigger and bouncier the trot, the more you have to lean back to sit it. Most traditional riding instruction will not let you lean back the amount you need to sit the majority of a lot of horses' trots, which is why everyone has such universal trouble doing it. The reasoning behind not sitting back ranges wildly and is very heated. It goes from it's bad for the horse, it's bad for you, they can't round, they can't flex, yada, yada, yada. But basically, I believe every day, every ride, in every instance, that bouncing is bad and not bouncing is good. So I position my torso in the place that allows my hips to move freely in total contact with the horse. This gives me access to my weight aids, makes me more stable, and eliminates the tension and concussion of me bouncing on the horse. In conclusion, lean back the amount that lets you follow your horse. It's important to remember that the amount you need to lean back is based on how your individual skeleton and your horse's individual skeleton match each other. So we, the human, as a coach or an instructor or a mean lady in the comments, doesn't get to choose where that place is. I always say, if you don't like where I have to sit on my horse to keep my butt down, feel free to buy me another horse on whom I look the way you like. Until then, just avert your gaze. So again, the too long didn't read version of that answer is, if you own a bouncy horse, you'll have to lean super far back to sit its trot. Your skeleton won't let you do it any other way.
The next question comes from Patty, who wrote in and said, Solange Ellis, I have always had thoroughbreds and I'm an eventer. I now have a large Irish draft sport horse who's built uphill. I've had a custom saddle made for us both, but my issue is staying up with his thrust when he transitions from trot to canter. I fall back almost every time. This problem is new to me. I'm an older rider, but fairly strong. I'm 5'10" with long legs. What do I need to do to stay stable in his upward transitions? Thank you.
First off, Patty, I want to thank you for including so much pertinent information. I am forever asking rider proportions and horse type, so this is excellent data. Since my system is non-breed specific, I've started to categorize horses by body and motion type instead of breed. Therefore, I sort horses into high head carriage and low head carriage horses and flat moving versus vertical moving horses. Based on your description, it sounds like your horse is both high head carriage with a more vertical motion. This will make for a very round and up-feeling transition into the canter, which can blow back the rider. My next question would be, are you transitioning from a halt, walk, or trot into the canter? As this will change where you'll want to be sitting as you ask for the transition before the transition physically occurs. If I assume a posting trot, which tends to be where most canter transitions happen, I would ask if you can sit down and sit the trot he canters from in preparation for that motion. That way, if you're already sitting down and prepared to follow his back with your hips into the next gait, you can kind of catch the wave of that first canter stride, like when you're surfing. Now, if you're in an up position in the trot, like a 2-point, and you want to stay in the hips held up above the saddle position for the canter transition, it will be more difficult for you to not get displaced down and back by his natural motion moving into the canter. Depending on his height and size in your weight and height, you may be slightly light mass in this equation, which means in comparison to him, you will always be more easily displaced. All of my fox hunters have custom-made grab straps that loop around their horse's neck and attach back to the horse's breastplate when they're riding at speed in the field. This strap allows them a stabilizing handhold when going uphill, jumping, and transitioning into a faster gait or lighter seat or both. Something like this may be a really handy bridging step to allow you to feel where you need to be on him and perhaps build that skill to the point where you may no longer need it. This is about as good of an answer as I can give you, Patty, with the information provided. If you'd like me to dial that in further, I'd request that you send me a video of the transition from the side so I can see exactly what's happening, like with my eyeballs. From there, I bet we could sort it out right quick.
Next, Audrey asks, can you take us uninitiated through what a hunter pace consists of, and how does one prepare for the pace?
Hey, Audrey. I have a pace coming up, so I'm prepared for this question. They all vary a little by hunt club, but the basic format is pretty much as follows. A hunt will often take a portion of one of the locations that they hunt, which is called a fixture, and then they design a set course in that fixture, which you pay a fee to ride. There are usually lots of jumps along the course that I think you can almost always go around. I don't believe I've ever been at a hunter pace where you couldn't go around the fences, which is really handy. They then separate the rider groups by speed, with faster groups going before the slower ones on the course to prevent like a traffic jam. They then decide an ideal time for the course to be ridden at by each individual speed group. So like fast time is this, medium time is that, slow time is this. Different clubs decide the speed differently. And then at the end, they award ribbons for which team of riders in which like speed group came in closest to the ideal time. For many non-fox hunters, it's a chance to ride a piece of land that they would normally not have access to. For riders who are interested in hunting, it can give you a sneak peek of the terrain you would encounter in the field. For me, it's a great place to take a rider out before they go hunting, because it's a nice bridging step. They ride in the arena, they ride outside at home, they ride at the park, they ride at a hunter pace, and then they go to a fox hunt. So we can kind of ease them in like a hot bath. How to get ready? Trail riding is great prep. You need to be comfortable riding across the terrain of your area. So the question is like, are there big hills, big open fields, lots of water crossings? Probably best if you and your horse don't encounter those for the first time ever at a publicly held event. You also want to be comfortable cantering on your horse, even if you do not plan on cantering at the hunter pace. My rule for my stable riders is you must be correctly and happily cantering in the arena before I set you free out of doors. You'll also be around lots of other horses, so be ready to be around a lot of other horses, to be around horses either going much slower or much faster than you. You may be passed or need to be passed. These are all easy things to think about and practice at home before the event. Whenever I plan on taking a horse or rider to a new kind or type of event, we prepare it like a military campaign, starting 4 to 12 weeks out, and what they need to be practicing and experiencing at regular intervals so that everyone can be happy and relaxed and have fun at their event.
Right. Alana brought a very big question for us next, so I hope you're ready.
I'm always ready for Alana.
Alana would like to hear what mistakes you've made over the years that you're now grateful for in hindsight.
Okay, Alana. Here's the thing to remember. I've been doing this job basically daily for 26 years. The things I have messed up, forgotten, broken, and missed are too many to possibly list. I have bought tons of tack that did not work, that I would never buy again. I have tried systems and processes that have failed that I had to redo. I have explained things to students in the past, ways that I have changed, improved, and revised dozens of times. I have let horses loose, ran my tractor into things, scraped my horse trailer on things. I still stand by the fact that Dollar General jumped out at me. I've ripped billets off my 100-year-old side saddle, on the road, in the dark before a hunt and just shoved it in my coat pocket to have it sewn back on at a later date. Thank God those saddles have like 97 straps, because I felt like every time I tightened one at the hunt, it just came off in my hand. I have forgotten lessons that I have booked, and I have washed more checks than I care to admit. You name it, I've done it. But the really good ones, the ones I've learned from, the ones that have formed the human I am today, have all been basically the same thing. An instance where I knew in my gut and in my brain that I needed to do something one way, and I didn't. Because the prevailing wisdom said that it was wrong. Every time that I had a result I really didn't want or like, it was always a direct consequence of me not trusting my own cognition and ignoring the facts in front of me, and instead doing it the way I was supposed to. The way that everyone else said I should, the way everyone else wanted. And one of those times, I got pretty smashed up. I was maybe 20. I've really tried to remember how old I was when this happened, and I can actually not. But I feel like I was older than 18 and younger than 22, somewhere in there. And I jumped a horse too high. I knew the horse couldn't jump that high, but everyone told me I was wrong. So I did it anyway, and we crashed. He was fine. The horse was fine. I was not. And in that moment, I decided to never let another person dictate what I did with my body based on their preference, ideal, or opinion. I should have said, you get on this horse and jump it if you think he can jump it. But I did not say that then. I do say that now. In my work, I see riders, particularly young women and girls, listening to outside opinions, judgment, and forces, who are then making decisions that have direct effects on their physical bodies and well-being against their own best self-interest because of those outside judgments and narratives. And some of this was years ago, well before social media. At the end of the day, Alana, it's not even about riding or horses. It all comes down to boundaries, logic, patience, empathy, and self-worth. This is not making sourdough bread. This is a horse. You can get hurt. Be very careful who you decide to listen to.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of wisdom. The self-advocacy you need to be safe riding your horse, not just in your arena, but
and for your horse to be safe, and the other riders around you to be safe, and the people on the ground to be safe. I was at the park today, like 2 hours ago before we recorded this, and my pony Pickles has big opinions, and sometimes she doesn't like to go first. And I've realized that that's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Actually, literally. Physically, it's not like a euphemism. So I put a rider next to me who, when Pickles decides she can't go forward because she sees ghosts, the other horse gives us a little mini lead and we go 10 or 15 feet and then Pickles leads again. And I suspect that if I just continue doing this, over time, she will relax her terror threat level to a more neutral color and Pickles will lead on trail. But when this happens, I narrate to the person in front of me, trot until here, walk here, and there's a bend in the trail where you can't see very clearly what's happening, but it's a nice uphill part and you kind of want to canter or trot it. And I'm like, you have to walk around this bend because you can't see what's on the other side. Because one time I went trotting around it and there was a very cute, nice lady with a double toddler jogging stroller with 2 babies strapped in it. Like literally there was a chick with 2 babies. And I'm like, oh, we should stop now. Like that's the kind of stuff that you encounter with horses. Like a lady with a baby carriage, 2 of them, and props for her for going out there and jogging with her twins. But also you were on the horse trail. You know what I mean?
Right. And as the person on the horse, it's like drivers and pedestrians. You're still responsible for keeping yourself and your horse and everybody else safe.
Everybody around you safe too, not just you, them. And when you start riding outside of the arena, that becomes a thing that you have to think about a lot. Anyway. What's next?
Right. Next, Katie wants to know what has been the most rewarding and unexpected aspect of doing your podcast for the past year. We also have some writing questions. So first one, what's the biggest mistake you see writers make? And the second, what's the easiest thing to fix for a writer that they can do on their own?
Katie, it's like you wrote these questions for me. This is perfect because I was actually thinking about this exact thing. The three things that I've really noticed that I have learned and experienced from having made this podcast for the last year. First off, I'm a much better writer than I used to be, as now I have a reason to sit down and write each month with a motivating deadline. I've also noticed in my own mind that I can access a new, deeper level of listening. I'm able to sit and listen to people in a whole new way, which I'm really enjoying and I think has made me a better coach and instructor outside of even this format. With my guests, I've been hearing stories for them about their life and their writing that I've often never heard before. So it's been really fun learning new things about people, some of whom I've known for years. How cool is that? When it comes to the most common writing mistake, there's a three-way tie for sure. 1, everybody leans too far forward. 2, everybody's stirrups are wildly the wrong length, both too long and too short. And 3, they all carry their hands too far in front of them. I'll go to equine affair or an event. I'll set up my Equisizers. I'll see sometimes 70 riders in 4 days, and 90% of them will have these 3 problems. Like, it's really obvious. I think the easiest correction for a rider to make on their own is the hand thing. To set your own hand position, which is individually, based on the length of your arms and the length of your torso and your chest circumference. You need to start by dropping your reins and sitting still on your horse at a halt. Place your hands in the correct position in front of you. Hold your hands shoulder width apart, slightly below your belly button, with your elbow joint opened to allow your forearm to be lowered and relaxed. From the side, your elbow joint should be just in front of the side seam of like your t-shirt. If it's at or behind that seam, your hands are too close to your body. That's the visual marker I look for in riders because I see them from the side when I'm teaching them. With this skeletal hand position, you should still be able to have your ribs lifted, your shoulder blades flat and relaxed against your back, and your chin level with the ground and your chin behind your sternum. If your hands are being held too far in front of you, the following things will be noticeable. Your chin will be dropped, your shoulders rounded, your ribs dropped, and often you'll feel less weight in your seat bones when sitting in the saddle. So those are really the things to look out for in your riding.
Some of those things sound very painfully familiar to me. Those are all of our listener questions. So thanks to everyone across social media for sending those in and for asking. And hopefully if you have
They were great questions. Weren't they really good?
Yeah, just reach out. Instagram, TikTok, wherever.
We're here. We're here for you. That's actually our jobs. So Ngozi, before you disappear for this episode, it feels weird not to ask you about your own riding. Because that's usually what I do. Can you spare just a few minutes to tell us how you got started in riding, which I think is a really funny story?
Yeah. So I knew this little kid. She was maybe 6, and I had been teaching her cello for a couple of months, and she was so incredibly frustrated with me always telling her what to do. So that summer, we'd probably been at this for maybe 8 months or so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She was like, I want to tell you what to do. I want to teach you something.
That doesn't sound at all like my offspring.
So I didn't have a helmet. I didn't have boots. I didn't have breeches. I remember
a period of time where you perhaps did not have a coat.
I didn't. That's true. I didn't have a winter coat. I was just like, I don't know, outside doing whatever. And she put me on, was it Tulip?
I think it would have been. Did you know Pop-Tart?
I met Pop-Tart, but I never rode her.
All right. You weren't missing out on a lot.
I don't think so.
It was a real short story, Pop-Tart.
Yeah. So I ended up on this. And for context, listeners, I'm 5'3". I have relatively long legs for my height, but I'm a short person. I have short arms and I have teeny tiny hands. Like I wear kid gloves.
Most
It's
impossibly
comical.
tiny hands. I don't know how you drive a car.
Right. It's
Your
comical.
hands are so tiny.
And I was on a 17-hand Percheron as
Yep.
this horse
That's Tulip.
in my, gym my like Target leggings and sneakers.
Yes.
And Piper's leading me around on a mini pony.
Yes. She was still on Roman at the time. Yeah, it was a sight.
Yes. And I remember I was like, how do I make her go? Like, where's the go button?
Where's the ignition switch?
And I couldn't like kick her hard enough to get her to, she just couldn't even hear me. Tulip was so like, I don't understand this person that you
best school horse you could ask for.
Yes. So like riding a lazy boy sofa.
Yes. That's our Tulip.
Eventually we figured it out.
I don't remember how long this went on before I intervened and just started teaching you.
It was many weeks.
Yeah, like you guys were, I don't know what I was thinking. I must have been busy or distracted, but this went on for a while with you two just kind of like faffing about, as Piper would say.
Most of the summer, I think. And then in the fall, you were like, you have to buy a proper helmet.
Right.
Because I was borrowing one.
Yes, I remember that.
I got boots and I got gloves, and then you fixed my hand position.
Yes, I remember that. I also remember you sitting next to me on the mounting block for hours. You just sat next to me and watched me teach for hours. And I think you learned a lot doing that.
Yeah, watching other people's lessons. I probably rode 1 or 2 days a week at that time for like 30 minutes or an hour. Like I didn't have the conditioning, I didn't have the strength, but I saw you teach people. It wasn't called stable riding then, but the method for sure. Just learned by observation, like, oh, this is where my hand should be and my feet should be. And I remember so much time looking down at my horse, and you banned me from looking down.
I've done that before. I've also banned people from talking. I'm like, we're putting up the cone of silence.
Yes. No questions. No more questions.
Yep.
And I had to look around the top line of the barn to train myself to not like collapse at my solar plexus and be falling down.
I remember you taking Jarvis to the park when we first got him, when he was still so fat, like a little cinnamon roll. And I don't know why you were in front of me. I don't know what horse I was on that I was behind you, but that little horse took off like a rocket. Like someone set his tail on fire and you lost a stirrup. And then in the most YOLO moment ever, you went, whatever. And then you took your other foot out of the stirrup and then just galloped down the trail on Jarvis with no stirrups. And I remember thinking, I think we taught that kid how to ride.
Yeah, those summers and the fall, that was wild. And so much Jarvis and Pancake and teaching Waffles how to cross the creek.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So much fun. And I remember at some points I was riding like 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and
cleaning tons of my stalls. It was great.
So many stalls, so many mats. And I remember being so excited to get better because I thought I would get to ride better horses.
No, that's the worst. That's the worst part of it. The better you get, the worse horses you have to ride.
Yes, I felt very hoodwinked.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yes, it was a big racket. And my favorite riding story, I was a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding, but for whatever reason, I had to ride a horse that morning. So I did my hair and I went to the barn. It must have been 9:30. And I'm never awake that early. So I really don't know how this sequence of events came to be. And I was like, who am I riding today? And you said Minnie. And I had never ridden Minnie before. And Minnie
Is this when we took the picture of you on Minnie in the side saddle?
Yes. And
that's a great photo of you.
And Minnie was so ill-tempered then.
She's not that much better tempered now. That's really just her general countenance.
Very true. And I was like, I can't break my arm before I have to be a wedding in this wedding. Like, what are we doing?
Isn't it so funny the things we think?
You said, don't fall down. Don't break your arm then. And I got on and rode her for probably 45 minutes, just riding her down for someone and cantered her around. And then I got off, went up to the house, shook the dirt out of my hair from my helmet.
Yep.
Oba laced me into my corset for the wedding, and then I went and was a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding. Like, rode a horse that morning.
Isn't that such a great story? That's a great like cocktail party story.
So completely absurd. Things you can only do when you're like 22.
Ngozi has fully woven herself into the tapestry of my life, because when we had to come up with a name for the system, because I was filling out a very important form and the system needed a name and I did not have one because I'm not great at naming things. I was on the phone with the other person and you were upstairs hanging out with my kid, and I yelled from my office, Ngozi, can you come down here? And you're like, sure, boss, what do you need? I'm like, we have to name the system in the next 25 minutes. And we did. You were there when I said stable riding for the first time with my mouth. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it's been how many equine affairs? Have you gone with me to all of them?
All of them, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's been crazy, kid. And now you're on the pod. Isn't this wild? This is how life works. Well,
we have been at this for so long, and it is such a privilege and such a pleasure. And I feel very lucky to have answered that text that day. And
about teaching my kid cello. I just love you, kid. You're one of my favorite people.
You're my favorite boss. I love you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being my question asker. I really appreciated it.
Anytime.
Right, kid.
Second anniversary, I'll be back.
Yeah, totally. A year from now, put it in your calendar. Okay, listeners. In conclusion, I want to first thank Ashley and Glenn, who saw in me the possibility of a podcast host. I'm very proud to have become a member of the Horses in the Morning family. I also want to thank all my past guests who took time out of their busy horse lives to hop on a Zoom and chat with me. Their stories have ranged from deeply personal to truly hilarious. And for me, at least, listening to them makes the big and sometimes divisive horse world feel a little smaller and a little warmer. Last but not least, I want to thank you, the listener, for giving my show a chance. Next month, we will be back to our usual format. The topic is full-chested riders, and I have an excellent rider tip and homework in the works for you all. Before we sign off, I have yet another question for you, dear listener. How did everybody like the listener question show? Is this something we should incorporate more regularly? Let me know. As always, I'm easy to reach. Just shoot me an email at solange@stableriding.us. You can find our show notes and links to today's guests and products in the show notes on your podcast player or on our website, stableriding.us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Stable Riding. We are here once a month on the fourth Tuesday of every month. We have our own open RSS feed. Just search Stable Riding with Solange in your podcast player, or you can find us on the main Horses in the Morning feed. All riders can be stable riders, and a stable rider makes for a happy horse.